In today's video, let's go over some updated next-generation information coming from the ever-reliable Jason Schreier, saying Microsoft will be a lot less about exclusives than Sony, at least at launch. Sony will have a big focus on PlayStation 5 only titles the day the PS5 comes out, so let's look exactly what was said, and I'll give you guys my input as well. In a recent Kotaku Split Screen podcast, Jason Schreier talks about exclusives for Sony's upcoming PS5 and Microsoft's Xbox Series X. I've been pretty vocal about the fact that I think exclusives are really going to be the difference maker for both of these platforms. I think both of these platforms are going to have vast feature sets, whether it be backwards compatibility, subscription services like Game Pass. Definitely Microsoft and Xbox, I think, are going to prioritize on that, but PlayStation Now is a thing too. Cloud gaming is going to be an emphasis. Although I do think Microsoft is going to have the inherent slight advantage from a software side of things. I think it will be very comparable, and I do think, again, the difference maker is going to be the big budget exclusive. But as it was noted, Microsoft's Xbox Series X won't have exclusive titles from its first-party studios until late 2021. Quote, as our content comes out over the next 2 years, all of our games, sort of like PC, will play up and down the family of devices, so that being Xbox One and Xbox Series X. The idea being that a lot of these games will be cross-generational and they will be playable on both the Xbox Series X and the Xbox One. Obviously, the games would theoretically look a lot better on the Xbox Series X, but they wouldn't be full-on exclusives. Microsoft wants to make sure that players don't feel like they're having to make a choice between console generations. I think that idea, while admirable, it could also backfire if you don't fully commit onto the Xbox Series X, especially if it's an expensive platform and a lot of the games are playable on the Xbox One and there aren't full-on exclusives, at least right away. I do think that'll be a little bit of a problem. So no Xbox Series X exclusives for a longer period, but cross-gen Xbox One and Series X titles instead. But what about Sony and its PlayStation 5? According to Kotaku's Jason Schreier, Sony is taking a different approach than Microsoft when it comes to its next-generation console in the PS5, and I think they're going the route a lot of us know Sony for. In the podcast, Schreier was asked whether he knows how much PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X exclusives and cross-gen titles there will be at launch, after which Schreier replied that the next Viking-themed Assassin's Creed installment will most definitely be a cross-gen title. I think that's to be expected, given that we had the same release pattern for Assassin's Creed 4, and we didn't even go fully exclusive with AC until AC Unity, and even then, Ubisoft was like, let us release Assassin's Creed Rogue for all of the last generation people. Ubisoft as a publisher definitely wants to keep the previous generation in mind, and obviously from their standpoint, they're just a third-party publisher that's trying to sell as many games as possible. How do you sell as many games as possible? By opening up the game to as many consumers as possible, and that's by offering your game on last generation platforms on top of the newer generation. And that's with a lot of the third-party games. I imagine a lot of the EA games and just all of the other third-party, if they can, they're going to release their games as cross-generation titles. I imagine 2K with a lot of their sports games as well. That would make a lot of sense. However, the PlayStation 5 is definitely going to have an emphasis on exclusives as well. I would imagine first-party exclusives. Schreier noted, quote, I've heard some of the PS5 launch titles. I won't say them yet, as I probably will want to do some kind of report on that stuff for the future, but those will be on PS5 only. I'm sure there will be a couple of cross-generation titles here and there. I could even see a lot of PlayStation 4 games being upgraded for PlayStation 5 releases, but those upgraded games, that's not going to be enough to sell people on PlayStation 5. I'm sure Sony is well aware that their bread and butter is the exclusive high-quality AAA games, that being Horizon 2. I don't expect Horizon 2 to be playable on the PlayStation 4. God of War 2, I don't expect that to be playable on the PlayStation 4. Whatever Bluepoint is working on, I don't expect that to be playable on the PlayStation 4. If you're of the mindset that you think your PS4 or PS4 Pro is going to be able to play a lot of these games, that a lot of the initial PS5 exclusives are going to be cross-generation titles, I really would dispel that notion right away. I really think Sony is of the mindset, hey, we need to sell the PS5. How do we sell these consoles? We offer compelling must-play exclusives. We're not going to put these games on the PS3. They didn't even do that with the PlayStation 4. They weren't putting a lot of their games as cross-generational titles. They weren't doing Killzone Shadowfall as a cross-gen title, Infamous, Second Son, Bloodborne, whatever the case may be. And even though from a design standpoint, the PS5 is probably going to have a lot of similarities to the PlayStation 4, unlike the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 3, ultimately, I think Sony's head is in the right place in thinking we have to sell our console by offering amazing games. We can talk all about the SSD, we can talk all about ray tracing or whatever, but the majority of consumers, they don't care about stuff like that. Sure, they'll care how the game looks, but they don't care about the nitty-gritty details about ray tracing, solid-state drive, even though that's going to improve the overall experience of the console. console, the absolute casual consumer cares about games and they care about notable, high-quality, premier exclusives. That being, again, a Horizon 2, a God of War 2. If they can get that for launch, a God of War 2 would be absolutely enormous, and I don't put that out of the realm of possibility. God of War 1 released all the way back in early 2018, and now they have the fundamentals in place for a follow-up title, because the 2018 God of War game did take a longer development cycle, given the fact it was such a far cry from previous God of War games, but generally, I imagine the formula will be retained for God of War 2 or whatever they decide to ultimately call that game. But do expect exclusives to be a big part of the PlayStation 5's launch lineup. I imagine even more so than the PlayStation 4. There's a reason why Sony hasn't been announcing a lot of games for the PS4. I mean, the 2020 lineup has already been set for a while, and it looks rather good with Dreams, Last of Us Part 2, and Ghost of Tsushima, but outside of those games, man, they haven't been announcing a lot of games. You want to know why? Because a lot of their first party is working on PlayStation 5 titles. I could even see Insomniac roll out a game for the PlayStation 5 launch. It won't necessarily be Spider-Man 2 because I think it's a little bit too quick for that, but hey, a new Ratchet & Clank game, something like that. I fully expect Sony to have at least 3 marquee exclusives for the PlayStation 5 launch. What are those 3 games? Well, I expect one of them to be Horizon 2. Guerrilla Games has been MIA for quite a while, and we know that they have a big game in the works. The other one I expect to be Bluepoint Games' PlayStation 5 title, whether that be a Demon's Souls remake or some other remake. I expect that at launch, and then I expect something out of a little bit of a left field that people aren't expecting, whether that be from Insomniac, whether that be from Sony Santa Monica, if they can get God of War out the door, whatever the case may be. I do expect that we're going to have some launch titles that are a little bit out of left field, because just about everybody is predicting Horizon 2, just about everybody is predicting like games like Assassin's Creed Ragnarok and a lot of third-party titles, but I do expect some stuff out of left field as well. Regarding Xbox Series X exclusives, Schreier added this, quote, "I haven't heard anything about Xbox first-party games, but I'm pretty sure their stuff is going to be as usual on as much stuff as possible. Actually, they already said that Halo Infinite is going to be cross-gen, which we already know. So Microsoft, I'm sure, will be a lot less about exclusives, which I really think is a bad idea. I think if you can get Halo Infinite is great at launch, and if it sees a considerable amount of improvements on the Series X, I think that can act as a pseudo-exclusive, where a lot of people picking up the Series X will be picking up Halo Infinite alongside that, but getting a game like a Fable 4 or Hellblade 2, something of that caliber, a marquee exclusive, I think would do the Xbox Series X a lot of wonders, because if all of those games end up just being cross-generation, that definitely hurts the appeal of getting an Xbox Series X on day one, especially considering the fact that we know these exclusives are going to be on PC as well. So now you're adding them on PC, now you're adding them on Xbox One. Sure, that's great for consumers and you can play the game anywhere, and that's definitely appreciated, but from the standpoint of selling the Xbox Series X, I do think that's going to ultimately hurt it a little bit. So that's going to conclude this video. A lot of interesting information coming out. We should hear more about PlayStation 5's launch lineup rather soon, given that a holiday 2020 release is planned at the very least. We should be seeing some of these games that will be coming. But nonetheless, that's going to conclude this video. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comments section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.